From every strand on the line of your reel, to the rods, to the anglers, to the lures on the end of your hook, let's talk about those big bass here on Co-Angler's Corner with your hosts, Rob Welch and John Stouch.
Good evening, everyone. This is John and Rob.
How y'all doing? How y'all are?
Yeah, how y'all are? How you doing? Whatever.
Well, I hope everybody's doing well. The weekend went by way too quick, so we're here on a Monday night.
Yes, seems like the weekends go by quicker than they're supposed to, but we'll get there eventually, right?
Yep. And we already got our first comment.
Leesburg checking in, huh? Rick Amato.
Hey, how's it going, Rick? Good to see you, brother.
Trying to get things straightened around here, and for some reason it kicked us off of Facebook.
Yeah. It has its moments.
Oh, yeah. Oh. All right. So I think we're about there. If not, then we'll get on there in a minute. Let's not wait too much for longer to get our guest on here. Julia Darbonne from Louisiana. She's a LBAA veteran. And she's down south getting ready to hit the LBAA tournament series. I believe Toledo Bend here in a couple weeks. So
yep. Kind of her home pond. So right up her alley.
Yeah, sounds good. Sounds interesting, and I can't wait to hear a little bit more about it.
Definitely.
All right, we'll bring her on right now.
Hi.
Hello.
Hey,
how
how's
are
it going?
you?
Oh, it's good. Everything's good.
Oh, I heard that.
Yeah.
Weather's getting right. It
is. It's getting beautiful. It was beautiful today. I got out, got to wash my boat, got my truck washed up, got cleaned up. Got all my getting ready to do my baits and get everything lined out, getting ready for the tournament.
Yep, that's me this week. I'm doing the same thing, getting ready.
Yeah. Got some rods I got to restring. My cat's under my thing. If y'all wonder what he's biting me on the foot.
All right.
Yeah, he thinks it's bedtime. He's spoiled.
Yep.
Well, animals are supposed to be spoiled.
Oh yes, he is. He's my big baby.
Yeah. So we were talking a little bit earlier that you got a new boat.
I did. I got a Skeeter FXR 20.
Awesome.
I love it. Got it, and actually right down the road from where I work at Holloway Outdoor and Marine. Some good people. They really did me a good deal. Love the boat. I'm getting it lined out. I finally got all my graphs installed and my 360. Actually got me a YOLO, the new nav light they have that changes colors. Oh, it's awesome. Yeah.
Cool.
Yes, nice.
So I've got it looking good. Now I just got to get some fish in it.
No, you'll get them. You'll get them.
And Barking Gruber is a friend of the show, says he loves the Skeeters.
Oh, yeah. I was worried. I had a Ranger before that. The Ranger, I was worried, because the Ranger could handle some water and everything. And that was my main thing, is the safety of the water and handling it. And so I went and looked at some Rangers and something just told me no. And then this one, just an ad came across and I seen this. And I'm like, ooh, that's a pretty boat. So I went to work. Next morning I got up. I'm like, let me just go down there and look at this boat. So I went down and looked at it, and immediately that was it. And then when I took it on the water, and I actually got it broke in, and I was able to get on Rayburn and hit some pretty good chops, I was like, oh yeah, this is a good boat. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that FXR handle it. I fished with a Clay Dyer one time on Cherokee Lake, and there was a tropical storm. Remember, a tropical storm come through, and man, that FXR cut right through it. Awesome boat.
Oh, it's amazing. I love it.
Yep.
And it sparkles. It looks like when the sun comes out, it looks like it has diamonds on it. It's just like it's a girl's friend.
Oh yeah. Got a
Nice.
little bling bling.
Oh, I got bling bling going on now. Got my lights going on. All I got to get me some music on it, and I'm good to go. Yeah,
There you go.
Can't beat that.
no.
So, if you don't mind talking a little bit about yourself, how did you get started in the fishing?
Well, actually, growing up, I grew up in the country, and I went fishing as a kid, but basically it was like with your bobber and perch and catfish with mom, and so fishing a little like that. Not too much as I got into my teenage years and things like that. But my husband now, our second date, we went kayaking in the nearby creek,
All right. Yep.
and I had a Zepco 33. And I started catching little spotted bass in the creek. And then I was like, well, we ended up buying a boat, and we ended up at a lake, and I started catching, some few small ones. So then I'm like, it was a tracker we had. So I'm like, take me to Toledo Bend. I've never been to Toledo Bend. Let me go to Toledo Bend. So he took me to Toledo Bend.
Yep.
So we get to Toledo Bend, and we were fishing out around the south part around Louisiana Islands, and we were on the other side of the island, and we're fishing, and I'm learning how to use what did I have? A Texas rig. And
Yep.
so I was learning how to use a Texas rig. And so he's like, well, I think we need to go. And I'm like, why? I don't see anything. Why are we leaving? And he's like, we really need to go. He said, this weather's going to get bad. And I'm like, I don't see anything. Well, when we went around the island, that was a whole different story. And so we're in this tracker, and he's driving, and I don't even understand the concept of getting on top of the waves and stuff. All I know is he was going fast, and that water was rough, and I was fixing to drown in Toledo. So finally I went, he's going, and I'm holding on, and I'm like, oh, good Lord, I'm going to die. And so finally I said, I thought you said you was going to let me drive. And so he stopped. He said, you want to drive? I said, yeah, let me drive, because I thought I could drive slower and I wouldn't be scared. Well,
Yep.
I get in there and I start, and then the next thing I was like, you drive. So I shut it down.
Yep.
And I just basically just put my head down, and I said, I'm going to drown on Toledo. I am going to drown. We got it back, and then I gradually started driving and building up my confidence and stuff. And
Yep.
I've always been competitive. I played ball in school and stuff. So finally I was like, I started catching good fish and big fish, and then I started watching the tournaments and things like that. And I'm like, I want to fish a tournament. I want to fish a tournament. So first tournament came around was the WBT.
Yep.
And I said, I found me a tournament. I'm going to go fish it. So I went in the tracker, and I didn't do good. I was by myself. I had a 7-inch hummingbird on it.
Yep.
So I went and had a co-angler, and I mean, we had a good day, but didn't really catch anything. So when we came back in, the director said that the LBAA was having their first tournament. It was in 2019. They were having a tournament there. They were putting in at Fin and Feather. And so they said, anybody interested? And I'm like, I'll go. So I went, and I went out that Monday. I looked around, found some fish, about 20 foot, what I thought was fish. I was still learning. So I go back to work. Well, when it's time for the tournament, I get off. So that's basically all the pre-fishing I had. So it was thundering. It was lightning. We had a hold up. And so I got my co-angler, a little girl from Missouri. So we take off, and I go back to this spot, and I had spot lock. But needless to say, I had an 80-pound, so motor just out of the water. And I'm holding on to the seat, and I'm basically rocking like this. I don't see anything. I told her, I said, this is not working. We got to do plan B. She said, what's plan B? I said, I don't know. We're going to have to figure it out. So I took off, and I was like, the water was rough. I really couldn't go out on the main lake. So I kind of eased my way, and I got around the bend. Well, when I got around the bend, it was calmer because everything was coming from the other side. Got around, grass was up. I could see it. Tall grass. That was like 7 foot of water, but I could see all that grass underneath there. So I put a weightless Cinco on, started grass. Well, I went to catching. It's like, oh, this is good. So I came in that day, I think I had 9 pounds and something, 2-day tournament. Next day I went out, same thing, bad weather, had another girl from Kentucky, West Virginia with me. And so we take off, and I told her, I said, we're not even going out there. I said, I'm going to go back and I'm going to see what's there. Well, overnight, the big one in. So I did that same thing. I worked that Cinco across that grass, and they were like killing it. And finally talked her into using Cincos, and she started catching. Cool. And so we fished that day. I had my limit. She had 2 in the box. So I told her, I said, it's like getting close to time to go back. I said, we'll work our way back around, and we'll see if you can't get your limit. So we came around. There was another little cove. So we dropped in that little cove. I was starving. I was eating some crackers on the front. I was just kind of and so she caught her other one. We fished to the back, and I'm telling you, it looked like chocolate milk back there. That wind was coming in on it was a little tiny cove. And I cast over by a lay down. And when I did, all I felt was whoop, and it started moving. I set the hook, and I was like, oh, I got my kicker, get the net. And that one was close to 6 pounds. So that day I brought in, it was 19 something. So that put me into first place. I had biggest bass, and she also came in first place on the co-angler side. So that was a good tournament, and after that I was hooked. That was it. That's all I live and breathe now is tournament fishing. I told my husband, I said, you probably get tired of me talking about fishing all the time, because he'll come in, what are you doing? I'm watching podcasts. I'm watching podcasts, or I'm watching fishing, or I'm talking about fishing.
There you go.
But he fishes too, but he doesn't tournament fish. He doesn't care about tournament fishing.
Gotcha. Martha Clark says good with it. Yeah, Martha Clark says, go Julia. Finger red number 1.
I work with Martha. Yep.
Oh, okay.
Miss her. Retired. She's living the good life now.
Oh, definitely.
And congrats. Andrew Pulliam says, hello, guys.
Hi. Hello there.
Bobby Young. Hello, guys. So, was that the first ever LBAA tournament you fished?
Yes. First one.
So you won the very first tournament LBAA wise that you've ever fished.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. And it was on Toledo. It was on, actually, like I said, they put in on the Texas side. So it was pretty unfamiliar area for me. You don't travel very far on Toledo with a tracker. You can, but you might not make it back. It can turn on you here real quick.
I get that same thing up here in New York. The weather, one minute it's 90 and sunny, next minute it's 75 pouring, 30-mile-an-hour winds.
Yeah. So I can handle the rain. I mean, a little bit of rain's fine with me, but when that wind kicks up, that's something else.
Yeah. And tons of standing timber. I remember that. I've been out there a couple times. I'm there all the standing timber.
Yes, and with Toledo, we have our Louisiana and Texas boat lanes, and then we have a single lane that will cross over. Well, the problem is you have all this standing timber. Unless you're in the boat lane, there's timber everywhere. Yeah. So you can't, like on Rayburn, which is big and vast. Now they do have their areas where they have timber, but the main portion of it by the dam is all open water. So you can ride swells and and make your way back to where we usually launch. You can't ride swells on Toledo. There's no room. And it's either you are going to get spear waves and stuff, but best thing to do if you're not in a tournament is not get on Toledo. It has sank many boats.
Oh yeah, I've heard.
Yeah.
Hannah Giles says, "Hi, Aunt Julia."
Oh, hi, Hannah.
So you said you got your fish on a Senko in that first tournament. Is that what made that one of your favorite techniques to use, or is it something you've always liked to use?
I just fell in love with the Senko. I have caught all my big fish on the Senko. That and a 3/0 extra wide gap hook.
Yep.
And I've had people say, "Oh my God, that's a little bitty hook. You can't hold a fish." Well, my biggest one was right at 10 pounds.
Wow.
So, yeah. But I don't know, and I have a particular color I use, and now it's to the point that if I use another color Senko, I feel like I'm like I'm cheating on my other color. So I got to go back to my my
Oh, yeah.
original because I mean it works in pretty much all the water.
Yep.
Okay.
So
Nice.
I mean it's my go-to. But I went to Minnesota. I have my oldest son lives in Minnesota, and he took me smallmouth fishing.
Oh, hey.
So I started using swim baits and things like that. So I'm kind of like them, and I use a lot of other techniques, crankbaits, things like that. But if I could do my favorite fishing, it's going to be with a Senko.
Okay.
Because if they don't bite a Senko, they're not going to bite. Senkos, they catch.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I got a lot of friends up here who I fish with, and they're like, if I see you around noon and you have a Senko in your hand, that means you're struggling.
I had a co-angler in the BFL one time, and I was catching. We were fishing grass line, and of course, he was using chatterbaits and things like that. I said, "You're welcome to some of these Senkos if you want them." And finally, he gave in. He used them, and he sat over there and he says, "My uncle is never going to believe that I have fished with a Senko most of the day."
Hey, but it
I'm
worked.
like, hey, I'm like Swindle. I don't care if it catches fish.
Yep.
I want whatever you got. That's what I want.
Yep.
There you go. Yeah.
And then funny.
Go ahead.
Yeah, and then talk about Senkos. My biggest lake here close to me is Cumberland. Smallmouth love a bubblegum Senko.
Oh, do they? I have to keep
Anything
that in
pink
mind.
on that lake? Yeah, anything pink. That pink and smallmouth. That's the go-to for mine.
So what size are you using? 5-inch or the 4-inch?
Yep. Just 5-inch.
Really? I'm gonna have to try that when I go back to Minnesota.
Yeah, try on smallmouth. They love it.
This year we're gonna go try Leech Lake.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, give it a try, and I'll just wacky rig it and skip it. So.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I'll have to try that. Yeah.
Definitely.
Now, when you're fishing the Senko with a 3-aught hook, are you Texas rigging it or are you wacky rigging it?
It depends. If I'm fishing a lot of like grass under the water, I'll usually do it weightless and try to pop it across the top of the grass.
Yep.
If it's just like a little drop off, something like that, I'll Nico it.
Okay.
Yep.
I put a little nail weight in the end of it.
Nice.
Yep. So.
That Nico comes through the grass. I've tried that on Gunnersville, and that Nico rig comes through grass. You just got to hold your rod kind of high, and then, man, that just pops through the grass.
Yep, and you can pop it.
Yep.
And I'll use it on Carolina rigs. I've actually put it on drop shots before.
Oh yeah.
So it'll work.
Definitely. Oh yeah.
Yes.
It's versatile. That's a versatile bait for sure.
It is.
As far as a bait goes, that I think that caught more fish than the forward-facing sonar ever will. You know.
Yep.
And
I'd agree with that.
I used to joke with people. I'm like, look, a Senko can make a bad fisherman good.
Yeah.
Oh, exactly. Exactly. Yep. And I mean, like the colors and stuff like that, like the color I use, I don't know what it is about that color, but they'll take it anywhere. For instance, we were fishing, my husband and I were fishing one day. He had a different brand. I don't even remember what it was, but it was similar in color, but it wasn't exactly. He didn't catch anything. He wasn't catching anything. I was killing him. He's like, why? I said, because I'm using this Senko. Use the Senko. The end of that day, he decided he'd go ahead and use it, and he started catching fish. I said, I told you, it's the Senko.
Yep.
Yes.
I mean, that's the bait.
Oh yeah, it's got the fall rate. Sometimes that fall rate makes a huge difference.
Yep. Those largemouth love it.
Oh yeah.
But I have evolved and I've learned new techniques and I like them. But I still will, if I get a half a chance, that Senko's on the front of my boat always.
That's your confidence bait right there.
That is my confidence bait. Yes.
Yeah. Barking Ruger says, afraid to ask a pretty lady the tough questions.
Don't be afraid. I'm not scared.
Andrew says you have to have a Senko in the boat.
It does.
He's right. Now, look, I have some knockoff Senkos, and there's different times I use them. Okay. But if I know I need one fish, I'm gonna go back to the old faithful, old reliable. It's the way it shimmies, and I don't think another soft plastic bait has that same shimmy as it
It
drops.
is, and it has a different texture than most. It's a lot softer. I mean, some people tear through them and go through them, but I mean, I've learned to go, and once it tears, if you'll move that hook a little bit, you can hook a little bit more. Hey, and I keep catching. I think it'll last. I've perfected that technique.
Pam Horn says, "What's up, peeps?" She's
What's up,
a
Pam?
LBAA fisherman.
I finally get to meet her. Yeah,
Yes.
she's going to be at the LBA, so I finally get to meet her.
Awesome, awesome,
wonderful lady. And Andrew says, I believe he's talking about the Senko, especially for a co-angler. It's great to fish behind the pro, and he's
absolutely,
right.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
and it's one bait that you can rig up so many times.
I want to know if that day on Toledo was the first day Julia had that scary of a time in a boat.
Oh, the one with bad weather.
Driving it, probably. Well, at that point, I think I had been in enough bad water and stuff with my husband that I kind of got used to it. So it wasn't as. What really made it scary was because I had a co-angler in a boat, and I worry about them. If something happens, which luckily, when we came around the bend to leave to go back, it was like really kicked up. And so I just looked at her. I said, "Hey, do you know how to swim?" And she said, "Yeah." I said, "Swim to that bank if we go up." So, and that little 115, I just hammered on it. But yeah. And then, fishing with the ladies and everything, which is, it's a smaller tournament, and I hope it does grow to, a large level. But when I switched over and started fishing the BFL, I did that a lot for my learning experience as a boater. It has much improved my driving skills, because at the time that I started, I had a Ranger R91 and it had a 200 on it. And when I launched with 230 boats with these big 250s, and they left me in the water, I'm like, this is not going to work. I got to have a bigger boat. So I did. I changed, got another Ranger. I got a Z520 with a 250 on it. So I was able to keep up. I could keep up with them.
Yeah.
But it did help me as far as driving skill. Now I've got this new Skeeter, and this has been a whole new learning curve, because it has so many buttons I have to remember to turn on before I can do anything. It's like a power button back here. Of course, I installed a 360, so I had to put my little power button to turn it on and off for the little sensors on it. So I'll get going. I was like, I forgot to turn the power on this, because I also put a Powerhouse lithium for my graphs. So I have it separate. I have everything run separate to that lithium. So I have to turn the switch off, put a Perco switch for that. So it's just getting in there, and I feel like I'm getting ready to take off for a flight. I have so many buttons and stuff now that I have to remember to push. So
you're gonna have to get that pre-flight checklist.
Yes. And that's what I do, because a lot of co's will like help, and I'm like, no, don't, because I get this checklist in my mind and I go through it as I'm doing things.
Same order.
And like my husband, if he goes fishing with me, he'll start I'm like, don't do that, I said, you're messing up my sequence here. It's like when I go back by myself, it's like I told him, it's like I have to do this, because if I'm on the water, I have to be able to take care of myself and that boat and get back. I said, you're at work. What are you going to do? You can't leave work to come get me off the water. I have to be self-sufficient on that boat. So I've done a lot of studying. I read, I watch YouTube. I actually went and took, before I got my new boat, I went and got a first year tech certification from Yamaha, so that I could service my boat and things like that. But I learned how to install my graphs. So I'm kind of frugal with my money. I don't like to and my dad always taught me, he said, if anybody else can do it, you can do it too.
Yep.
So I installed all my graphs and everything is good.
Awesome.
Pam Horn says she finally gets to meet you as well.
Yes, I'm excited. Yes, I haven't seen a lot of those ladies. I sank my first boat with my grandpa. You never forget your fist.
I think you said meant first. I think you meant first.
I think it meant first. No.
Luckily that hasn't happened. Yeah. I've had some, I don't know if you'd call it close calls, but I did have, like, when I fished Palestine Lake, I was fishing WBT, and the second day of the tournament, the wind was going to kick up about 20 miles, an hour on Palestine. Well, I decided where I was fishing was a good area, but I thought maybe if I run north and get a little shallower, maybe I'll get on some good fish up there, because that was supposed to be one of the better areas. Well, it was also a stump fill.
Ooh.
So I am easing through here. We got my trolling motor down. You can't really run, so I'm easing through, and ended up hitting a stump with my trolling motor, and I heard it crack.
Ooh.
And then I decided, this ain't working. I got to go back to where I was. So I pulled the trolling motor up, cranked up the big motor, had it trimmed up. So I am idling through these stumps, trying to maneuver through it to get to where I could go. And it was a good piece. And that wind is it's just kicking. And my motor, I guess my propeller hit one of those stumps just right. And that motor came up. It literally came out of the water. And luckily I was idling.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, that could have been a disaster. I thought at first maybe I broke that, but I didn't even think about the motor coming in the boat with me.
Yep.
So as time went on, a while back, I seen some videos about the leash.
Yeah.
So, and I got to reading on it, and apparently there's a man, I don't know who it is, but there's a man here on Toledo Bend that actually had his arm, I think, taken off because of that. And so I had a leash put on my motor. So that was pretty scary. So
yeah, very, very good insurance. There's a young guy in Nashville. I think he had his arm cut, had his shoulder cut. He
it's
had one.
dangerous.
Yeah.
They had a since then I've seen I think it was a high school team, and the father was the coach. I think they were on Pickwick, maybe. And they went to an area, so they started to run. They actually had to head back. And the dad thought he was in the boat lane, but apparently he was off of it, and it hit. And luckily he had a leash on it.
Yep.
It tore the motor up and everything, but luckily, they were okay.
It kept it out of the boat. Yeah, that's good insurance. That's
very much so. I would advise anybody. Gotta love those sketchy areas. Trim tabs down, jack plate all the way up until you lose water pressure and hammer down. I don't know. Especially this new one. I don't even think I want to take her in the stumps. I'm scared she might get
I'll blame you.
I'm scared she might get a scratch.
I'll blame you.
And Rick says it's on his Ranger and it's worth every penny.
I would advise anyone to get that. Yep.
Absolutely.
Now, Rick, you come up to New York, you don't have to worry about it.
Oh, no stumps?
No, not really.
What do you have, rocks?
A little bit.
A little bit?
Yeah, you just have to worry about 6 to 10 footers most of the time, so that's okay.
Well,
and Die Hard Angler says good evening.
Good evening.
That's my buddy Jared. Hey Jared, how's it going, buddy?
Oh, so you fish a lot around the stumps, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's mostly.
There's a lot of wood down. There's a lot of wood down there.
Plenty of wood, and right now it looks like those bass are liking that wood.
Oh yeah.
So, they're hanging out. So I'm learning some techniques because I went on Rayburn and fished the WBT, and it was not a good day for me. And I did get into some bass, but they were suspended. And I guess I threw everything but the kitchen sink at them and could not live scope. They would come up and look at my bait. I was so mad because my live scope did not catch a fish that day. I was mad.
They'll do that to you.
That's one of the biggest topics going now is live
Oh,
scope.
it is. Yes, it is.
And I tell everybody, no matter what, you still got to catch the fish. If you could see them, it's just like sight fishing.
Well,
in my opinion, it's like sight fishing. You can cast at it and cast at it and cast at it. If they're not going to eat it, they're not going to eat it.
That's right. I witnessed that. Yes.
And the hard part about it is, he's there, and you can try to force feed. Then it's like, when do I pull the plug and leave?
Yeah, and it was a really, full moon this past weekend. So I'm sure they probably fed up. So they probably filled up on those shad during the night.
Barking Ruger said, hard to hit a stump in 300 feet of water. I don't know if that's referring to me.
Yeah, I think it's for New York.
I think I'm pretty safe there.
Yeah. I mean, I have one lake right next to me about 10 minutes down the road, and they test Navy sonars there. So it's about a little over 600 feet deep in some places.
Wow.
So. Yeah.
Crystal clear water?
Yes. You could see down about 15, 20 feet.
Wow. I remember the first time I went with LBAA, we went to Hartwell.
Yep.
Okay.
And I can remember launching, going after pre-fishing. When I launched out there, I got out there and I looked and I'm like, I don't know what to do with this. This crystal clear water. You could see all the way down. It's like I felt like I was in the Gulf. And I was like, I don't even know how to fish this. I don't even know where to start. So I ended up heading and finding some creek channels and getting up in the backs of the creeks where I could get some more water that was more like what I was used to.
A little color in the water. Oh yeah, definitely.
I needed some color. Yeah, that was swimming water to me. Which I did do that too. It was hot in the summer, so I took advantage of it for that.
I remember the first time I fished deeper water, clear water, and my buddy's like, "How deep do you think we are?" I said, "I don't know," because you could see the rocks and everything down below. And I stuck my flipping stick in there, 7.5. And it didn't even come close to the bottom. He's like, okay, so maybe my graph is right at 15 feet.
Yeah, the perception is very off with that water.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Die Hard Angler says, good luck in your next tournament.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I can't wait to get back on Toledo. I'm excited. It's been so long. I'm ready to go check out some areas and get a plan started. But if I can knock these 3 nights out at work, it's on. I'm
there
ready.
You go.
I'm doing my homework.
That's pretty lake.
Oh, yes, it is. Yeah.
Travis is doing a good
job. I heard
job.
the grass is coming back. Oh, yeah.
Don't tell nobody. Don't tell nobody that.
Yep.
They'll be out with the sprayers trying to kill our hydrilla again.
Yep.
But yeah, I haven't got in it yet, but I hear it is. So it's one of my favorite things to fish too.
Oh yeah.
Die Hard Anglers wants to know how long
I actually started fishing, and well, that'd have been 2019 when I fished my first tournament.
Okay.
Cool.
I did a lot of homework, right? Yep.
A quick study.
Yep. And try to stay on the water as much as I can. But here lately, I've been so busy. I've actually doing my tackle room here, my office, my fishing office. So getting everything lined out, putting up pegboard, and I mean, I still have boxes of bait. So there, I definitely have a bait problem. I mean, don't we all? I have to stay out of those tackle stores. It's ridiculous though. Oh, it's crack.
It is.
Oh yeah.
It is crack.
It's not
it is.
It's not physically unhealthy for you, but financially it is.
Financially it is, but I'm like, but what if it's something the fish want to eat?
Yeah.
I look at
I have
stuff
a
and
color
I'm like,
I don't have.
Yeah, I'd be looking at it, I'm like, boy, if I was a fish, I'd eat that. So let me try it.
Yep.
And I love going some of the
Absolutely.
tackle stores. Like my son, there's a tackle store by my son in Minnesota, and they actually getting some of the the Japanese baits is coming in.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
So I
Yep.
picked up some of those while I was there. So I just noticed when I went to Sam Rayburn that Tackle Attic is getting some of the same stuff, and I'm like, oh, this is not a good thing. Not for me.
Yep.
Yeah, because I'm always looking for something. So it's
Right.
either that or I order it. Like one time I was getting ready for a tournament, and I was in the living room and I had like everything. The floor was covered. My husband walks in and he went, "Oh my God, where did we get all this stuff?" I looked at him. I said, "We didn't get anything." I said, "That's my baits." Yeah, so yeah, I love my
Nice.
baits.
And Diehard Angler says, "Don't we all have enough or too many?"
Oh yeah. Yeah.
You
Hey,
never have enough. There's
no,
never enough. They
no.
keep coming out with just new things, new techniques. It's like your graphs. You got to stay up on top of it, or
That's
if not,
right.
you'll be losing.
Yeah, it's your profession, and if whether you're a mechanic, a surgeon, or whatever, if you don't stay up to date, then
Newest
you're
tools,
done.
newest technology.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. We were talking about baits, and I think it was last weekend or the weekend before. I was organizing some of my tackle, and I have over 120 crankbaits.
It'll take
And
long.
And the funny thing
my
about
wall
that
back
is,
here, but that's as far as I've got. The rest is over there in containers.
if I
Then
make
what I
30
do, my-
casts, if I make 30 casts with a crankbait a year, that's a good year.
Yeah. Yeah. Treble hooks are my like phobia. I'll fish with
Yeah.
them, but boy, I hate to drag them out because I sure don't want to pull one out. That's what I tell the co-anglers who get on the boat and say, "What kind of rules you have?" I'll go through like the basic stuff, pick your trash and stuff like that. And I'll go, and the last one and the most serious one is do not get a hook in me because you're going to swim back to the ramp. Oh, yeah.
And Diehard Anglers wants to know what your favorite bait is. I think the first 5 or 10 minutes we discussed that.
Cinco. Yeah. I like Cinco. And then I guess swim bait. One of the things I want to work on is the glide baits.
Yeah.
So I want to work on those. I actually picked me up a clutch. So
those are awesome.
I'm going to start working on that as soon as the time gets right.
We actually got the clutch guys coming on. What, a couple weeks, John?
Oh, really?
Yes. Yep.
Oh, great.
Great. We had an episode with Peyton Stumpf from last Wednesday, I believe it was.
Yep.
And he does painting for some glide bait painting for some of these bigger companies, and he did a really good job of breakdown on stuff. His whole setups.
Wow.
On that.
Yeah, it was
great painter too. Great painter.
I was watching the pro. What's his name? The one that made the Fritz side. Is it David Fritz?
Yep.
I was watching a podcast with him, and he was talking about when he started making the crankbaits for Berkeley. Yep. And he said the first crankbait that he ever made, he drilled into one, and he actually used the slug out of a 22 for the weight.
Yep.
And did that and a rattle, and that's where he started making his crankbaits. So I thought that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, he's the mad scientist of crankbaits. He's good.
Yeah. It was an interesting podcast.
Yeah, actually, that podcast is in June. We're booked out. We're booked out pretty far.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Where I got my boat, they also have a really nice tackle shop. So they get the clutch, they get all these things in there. It's like I have to do everything I can to not stop in there on my way home from work because I have to pass right by it, and I'm like, oh boy, I want to go in there, but I got to stay away. Yeah,
I got the same problem. My favorite tackle store is like 2 blocks from my work, and if I turn left, I go by it, and I'm like,
It's like, how do you go in to get 1 or 2 baits and you come out with $300 worth of stuff and a rod?
Every time.
It's like going to buy groceries when you're hungry.
Exactly.
Yeah, not good. Not good.
No.
I mean, no, it's not, because you get so much stuff that, like, you don't even know where to start to fish.
Yep.
Exactly. It's tough. And
I guess my worst technique, well, yeah, I'm gonna say my worst because I hate them literally. Frogs, hate frogs, hate them. But
John can relate. John can relate.
I don't deal with them enough. I mean, and I need to get over that, and I really need to get out. I've heard all kind of little, techniques you could use not to like pull it too fast. So I don't know. I need to work on that, and I need to work on my jig.
Yep.
Jig fishing, because jig fishing is really big down here. So.
Oh yeah.
Harwood says, "Love your tackle room."
Loving your towel. Thanks, Cott. Cott was my co-angler.
Okay.
This past weekend. Yeah.
Sweet.
WBT. Yeah.
Nice. So we try to ask everybody a couple questions. What is your favorite lake that you love to fish?
I could tell you that real easy. Caney Lake above Jonesboro here in Louisiana. I don't know if y'all watched the MLF when they fished there, the hard hitters. They fished that, blessed break. But that's where I lost my personal best.
Okay.
And so that lake has got some big fish in it. It is a very small lake. I pre-fished it in one day. It is, I think it's like, I could be wrong, like 5,500 acres. I mean, you can launch on one end and basically see the dam on the other end. It's small, but it is so full of hydrilla and just good water that those bass have just flourished in there. But I was pre-fishing for a WBT, pre-fishing, and I had actually another boater in with me. And so we fished down one line and caught a few little dinks and stuff. But when we got on the other side, that's where the better fish were. So I came up on this boat dock, and they had put the hog wiring around the bottom of their dock. They do that because of crappie fishing, and they usually put their stuff in the middle of it. So I'm like, I seen that wire, and I told her, I said, I must need to fish that dock. So I eased my boat around the other side of it, and their walkway from their dock was open. They didn't have the wire up, and on the other side they had one of those framed out Julia, just so Caney for life. So they had made this little, I guess they put their bait fish or whatever, and it was on the other side of the dock. So I was fishing with a Senko, and I cast and I hit right on the post, and it fell right at that post. And when I tell you, there was no bump, there was nothing. And that's when I know I got a big one. When they don't bump, they just pick up and start going. That fish took off parallel to my boat, and it took me probably, I mean, I was trying to turn it, and it was pulling drag. And she's going, "You got a catfish, you got a cat." I said, "That is not a catfish." And I guess that fish probably run maybe 20, 25 foot past my boat before I got it turned. And I'm telling her, get the net, get it in the water, get ready. I'm bringing it back. So I brought it back, and I got it back to the boat. And as it got up to the boat, I guess, I don't know if it's seen the shadow or what, but she had the net, I had it, and it came and made a flip. And when it did, when I tell you the bucket mouth on it, that fish, I would say that fish had to be 12 pounds.
Wow.
And it flipped under my boat. It went pulling drag again. I mean, it was just coming off, and it popped that hook out of its mouth. First, when it popped the hook out of its mouth, I couldn't talk. And used to, when I first started fishing and I would lose a fish, I would get mad, maybe say a few choice words or yell a few choice words. I would get furious. I couldn't speak. I was speechless. And she's like, "Oh, I'm sorry. I'm like, I couldn't talk." And I said, hold on a minute. And then I said, there ain't no way that fish broke that 20-pound fluoro. And I looked, and the hook was still there. So I guess it ripped the hook out of its mouth.
Yeah.
But that fish is still in there in that lake waiting on me.
And
So
gotten bigger.
I will go back, and I will always fish that dock.
Yep.
So,
Diehard Anglers says Heartbreak City. Yes.
oh, it
Oh, yeah.
was. It was like
We've been there.
I really, I mean, it's like my heart just sunk. I couldn't speak. It was like it took me a minute. I sit there and I thought, and I'm like, that's my biggest fish. That was my biggest fish. And she's over there. I thought she was going to cry. I'm like, no. I said, it was not your fault. You were ready. I said, the fish just did what he wanted to do. I mean, he was a beast.
Yep.
Yeah.
So,
now, on the opposite spectrum, is there any place you don't want to fish? Or a lake that you don't care to go back to?
There's a little, well, I don't want to say that because I have friends up there and they fish that lake, and I don't want to hurt nobody's feelings, but I don't like that little lake. But it's a little local lake. It's a little local lake. I'll say that. And
okay.
It just, I don't know. To me, and then everyone I talked to said, that's a crappie lake. That's a crappie lake. They had a tournament on it. It was like, yeah, I didn't care for that little lake.
Yeah.
Maybe I just need to go back to it. Get over that. But there's not many places I won't go try to fish.
Yeah.
I want to go. I have some bucket lakes, which the LBAA has got some awesome lakes this year. I mean, pretty much all of them. Gunnersville, Table Rock, and Bull Shoals. I haven't got to fish there yet. And then the championships on Grand Lake. And those are pretty much all on my list of lakes to fish.
There you go.
I really want to go fish OH Ivy.
Yep.
Yeah. So the Skeeter Owners Tournament this year is on Lake Fork, of course. So I'll be going to fish that.
Okay.
So
cool.
Well, believe it or not, we're 46, almost 47 minutes in.
Really?
Yeah. So this,
I'm gonna get it. What boat dock did you say it was?
That's funny right there.
You leave my fish alone. I got my name on it. It's still got a hole in its mouth. Julia needs that Cliff Crochet Cast King deadbolt, no drag, just winching. Oh, I'll have to look into that. If he's got it.
It's an awesome reel.
See, now, barking, now I have to go back to the tackle store.
Uh-oh.
I'm on a mission.
There you go. We're at a point in the show where we like to let you talk about your sponsors, people you give a shout out to and stuff like that. So go right ahead.
I'm right in the middle of working on some new sponsors. I was sponsored by Gary Yamamoto. Of course, he's since then has sold the bait company. So, but I still am a lover of those baits. I mean, best there is. I'm of course with Titan Tungsten, which they've got some awesome baits. Hooks, I'm sorry. They got hooks. They've got but they're sinkers. I'm a big fan of their sinkers. I've got the rod glove.
Yep.
I have TH Marine. I had a good rod guy. I had gotten this guy before COVID started. He started building rods down here, and I mean, he was making some awesome rods. And then COVID hit, and it kind of like, he didn't get the company up running, I guess, full fledged then. So I'm still in the outlook for a rod person. So I have several different types that I like. I like Daiwa, but I really want to would rather get somebody more personal that can customize and, make some good rods for me.
Definitely.
Yeah. Definitely. I'm in the same boat with the rods. I used to make my own rods. Then I went to another company and I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to get back to making my own again. I can pick out the exact blank I want and go from there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
Margaret, Bussy Break. I have not got to fish Bussy yet. That's on my list too.
I've heard a lot about it. I haven't fished it either.
I have a lot. My list is very long for lakes that I want to get to.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah. And then I guess my ultimate bass fishing trip would be Amazon for peacock.
Yep.
That I would love to go do that.
Have you been to Guntersville before, or is this going to be your first time?
No, I fished a BFL on Fort Loudon. That's the lake. There you go. That's the lake I never want to go to. Have you been on it? Oh,
I used to live beside it.
That
I used to live beside it.
That was the worst tournament in my life. Went up there, and don't you know the day of the tournament, the temperature dropped down to 29 degrees.
Yep.
It was cold. That tournament was so bad. I think half the anglers left before the tournament ever started.
I fished a wild card there, and
it was a wild card.
Yeah, I was there. I was there.
I was there. A wild card.
Yep.
It was like, what year? That's just been what, 2 years
3 years ago? Yeah,
something
2-3 years ago.
Yes.
Yeah.
You remember that? How bad that was? What was our winning weight? The winning
much.
boater weight, I want to say for that 2-day total was it 9 pounds and something?
It wasn't much. Yeah, it was around 10. It wasn't much.
Smallmouth.
Yep.
It was horrible. And I ran into a local gentleman there, and it's like, he said, I feel really bad that y'all came. He said, this is just like not the good time of the year. And I'm thinking, I don't think I'll have fish in this lake. And then they wouldn't let us go through. What was that other lake that was connected to it? The one that they
Telcove. Telcove. No. No. Watts Bar.
Watts Bar. They wouldn't let us lock through. So it's like, we're stuck on this lake, and it was cold. I think I ran probably 20 something miles up toward Knoxville. Fish deep, fish everything I possibly could. Not a bite.
I feel you, because I think I drop shot the whole time, and I got like pecks from bluegills. Fished that lake for 20 years, I get nothing. And my buddy from Georgia, second day, he was by the dam, and he threw a whopper plopper out of all things.
Oh no!
And caught 2 on the same cast, both keepers. John knows who he is, Coach. And he caught 2 keepers. Almost made the All-American on that one cast. Almost.
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a lake. If they ever draw it again for a wild card, I'm gonna have to pass.
I don't blame you. I think I'll pass it too, and I'm familiar with it.
It was a nice trip, but I don't take those trips like that for sightseeing.
Yeah.
I'm going up for a reason, so I want to catch fish, or at least have the opportunity to try and feel like there are fish there. I think pre-fishing, I caught one little 12-inch largemouth, and that was like it.
Yeah, it was brutal.
I think a lot of the guys left before the actual tournament because the fishing was so bad.
I have to agree there, Barking Rugers.
Oh yeah,
can't
and in day 2, a bunch of them left. I still had fun. I mean, even it was tough, I still had fun.
Bucket list.
Riccamato says
Florida for bass. Hey, I can do the bass and the gators. I like gator tail.
Oh yeah, you used to that. You're
I
used to that.
Gator
I think
tail.
it's a big deal.
Do they let you harvest? Now I'm not. I don't want to wrestle them, but
I do miss the fresh.
Away from a good fish either.
I do miss the fresh seafood and everything down there. So you're making me homesick on that.
Yeah, I tell you, I was pre-fishing for BFL on Sam Rayburn. I think this was maybe last year or the year. No, it was the year before, because I didn't have my boat last year. But one of my sons was with me. So I was fishing this drainage, going up into like this drainage ditch, and they had a bunch of buckbrush and stuff. So I'm fishing up there, and he's fishing. Next thing I know, I hear this big, deep, and he goes, "Mama, what's that?" I said, "What's a gator?" So I keep on fishing. He said, "Well, didn't it come from up in there?" And I'm like, "Yeah." He said, "Well, what are you doing?" I said, "I'm fishing." He said, "You going back there to fish?" I said, "Well, yeah, there's fish back there." He's like, "I don't want to go back there." I said, "Are you telling me you're scared of that gator?" He said, "Did you hear how big that thing sounded?" He said, "Yes." I said, "Okay, I'll back out. I won't go." So I went back tournament day, and I went back up in there, and I actually caught one right at 4 pounds up in there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went fishing with my brother.
Said, "Yeah, you heard that?" I said, "He's not wanting. We're invading his space. He's not wanting us to come up in here."
Yeah, I had it happen at Toho. I was at Toho and I had a guide and was hearing them do that, and he's like, they're mating. Don't worry about it. I
Yeah,
was like,
yeah,
okay,
you better worry.
yeah.
Yeah,
Never
I
did
like to
see
get
one, but
those
I heard
little
them.
ones. Those little ones, you could cast at them and they'll get after your bait and stuff.
Oh yeah,
They're pretty fun.
Yes.
definitely.
Oh,
But yeah,
so,
I remember that. I remember that wild card. But yeah, that brings back good memories and bad memories.
That was a nightmare. Yeah, I'll have to pass on that one next time.
Okay. Yep. I'll probably agree with you there.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
luckily,
Julia, go ahead, Rob.
Yeah. Luckily, I'm not fishing. I think I'm fishing Cherokee and Douglas. Now, Douglas is a pretty lake because you got the Smokies in the background. It's right outside Pigeon Forge. So Douglas is a lot better lake, better numbers, and better quality. So if you get a chance, come back to Knoxville, fish Douglas.
Okay, will do.
Yep.
No.
Yeah. All right, Julie. Well, thank you very much for coming on. We appreciate it.
It was a pleasure.
Like we said earlier, it goes by fast.
Yes, it does.
But hey, good luck on Toledo Bend in a couple weeks and
for
the whole season, and be safe and enjoy that new boat.
Thank you. Oh, I plan on it. Thank you. All right, you guys. Y'all have a good evening.
All right, you take care.
You.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right, thanks.
Bye-bye. Woo.
That's funny. She was at the same wild card as me and Coach. That's funny.
Yeah, that is. Oh. All right, buddy. Well, hey, you have yourself a good night. I can't remember who we got going on tomorrow.
Luke Schrader, Mr. Side Pot himself.
That's tomorrow?
Yep, that's tomorrow.
All right, Mr. Side Pot. Maybe.
And also as a co-angler, he won a boat at Dale Hollow at the Super Tournament last year.
Okay.
Or regional.
Regional?
But yep. So it'd be interesting, and I'll definitely have my notebook ready because I need as many tips for Dale as possible.
Yeah, I hear you. I need tips for anywhere.
Yeah, I hear you. But yeah, great guy. I'm looking forward to it for sure.
All right. Well, everybody, thank you for tuning in. Appreciate it. Y'all have a good evening. Be safe, and come check us out tomorrow.
All right. Appreciate it, guys, for tuning in, and like, subscribe, and we'll have Luke Schrader on tomorrow. So definitely tune in. He'll have some juice. I guarantee you.
I'm sure he will. All right, people, have fun.
Peace out.